back into the fray here. Scott Sloan Show on 700 WLW. The Supreme Court settling again a fight over the 14th Amendment that dates back to the 1800s. So now it is on Congress to get something done. And obviously the topic here would be a Supreme Court decision yesterday, SCOTUS ruling in Trump v. Barbara 5-4, that birthright immigration is a go. And joining the show this morning to find out what all this means and the impact, for that matter, on probably doesn't as much, but the Haitian community in Springfield and elsewhere around Ohio is a hot topic as well. Speaking of immigration, two are related, but we'll find out what conservatives in Congress can do, if anything. Midterms approaching, and they have less and less juice as they move on. So we'll see how it plays out. She's Pallavi Ahluwalia. She's an immigration attorney out of Texas, joining the show this morning on 700 WW to break it all down. Good morning. How you been?
Doing very well, Scott. Thank you for having me in this morning and over Trump v. Barbara today.
I'm reading the argument here. It's certainly a case. I think ultimately Congress, as I said, is going to go in and figure this out and get the type of legislation they want. It's about time. That's what Congress should do. But let's start with the text itself. The ruling means exactly what for birthright immigration, and there's also a text that says subject to jurisdiction thereof. So the majority states this means the subject to U.S. law and authority. Is this simply really settled now? Isn't it as simple as it sounds?
I think it may be tried again, but let's just first understand. So nothing has changed. The court has said that the Constitution means what has been understood to mean for over a century, which means that if you're born in the U.S., you're a U.S. citizen. Even if your parents are here as visitors or on temporary statuses or illegally. So Trump's executive order did try to carve out the children who were here, whose parents were here for a short term, whether they were visitors or they were illegals or they were on temporary visas. So the court here has said that he can't do that because the 14th Amendment guarantees their citizenship at birth. So when we're talking about subject to the jurisdiction thereof, that actually is the heart of the case. The administration argued those words exclude the children of people here illegally or temporarily, and the court has disagreed. Subject to the jurisdiction means they're subject to the power of U.S. law, and almost everyone physically in the country is subject to the power of the law. So if you can be pulled up for driving wrong and getting a citation, or you can be arrested, you can be taxed, you can be sued, you can be prosecuted, you are subject to the U.S. jurisdiction. The court thus traces back to 1812 decision for schooner exchange, holding that the nation has full power of everyone that's in the nation's territory. And there are narrow exceptions, of course, and these are foreign diplomats and their children, but they are not ordinary immigrant families.
Gotcha. I know the president pushed back on this, and he was upset by it, obviously, and said that, well, we've got Chinese nationals, having 57 kids, I think is what he said, which is obviously an exaggeration, but and then coming to this country, having the kids so they can have essentially birthright citizenship. How often is that happening, if at all?
In the numbers, I don't know how they can be, they should be studied. The data should be studied as to what it is. I'm sure the stricter rules on people coming in, I'm talking about just people who come in as visitors, right, and want to give birth. I think there is CBP, the Custom Border Patrol, right, protection. They're the ones that can enter people in or not enter people in. Maybe there could be some methods that could be put at the ports of entry that spot people who are just visitors coming here for birth tourism, right? And there is that thought, why should people just come here to have a baby and go back? I mean, that's not cool. But maybe there can be other ways that we can do that. The only way that this would change, right, is to ratify or change the amendment, to amend the amendment and the Constitution. So the 14th Amendment was written in 1868, right? And this was at that time to overturn the infamous Dred Scott decision, which had said that Black Americans could never be citizens. So I I think Justice Kavanaugh, who agreed on the outcome but not the reasoning, said the order did not violate the 14th Amendment, but did violate a federal statute. And he suggested that Congress could theoretically pass a law creating exceptions, but it hasn't, so the order is invalid. So, but again, we have to understand that a law, a statute, is lower than the Constitution.
Right.
So even if you were to apply that, it would come to going back to the Constitution, and the constitutional amendment, as we know, requires 2/3 of the Congress to agree.
Yes, and it seems simple. It's like, okay, well, there's that loophole, and as you said, it's not cool that people can come here, have a child in a hospital here, pay for it, and now they're a citizen. So that can be amended by Congress. Congress can take care of that, and that's the problem. Congress doesn't do a lot these days. Everything is by executive order, and that's not going to stand constitutional, and in this case, SCOTUS examination, Pallavi. Justice Thomas argued, you mentioned it, that the 14th Amendment was written narrowly, basically to protect freed black Americans. Explain that theory, and if it's been, I don't know, has it been repurposed beyond the initial intent? Does that argument hold up historically as an attorney?
Yeah, so the Constitution, to me, if you're born in the country, and this is just solely, that's been the law of the country based on that Constitution, right, on the 14th Amendment. So if you're changing it, redoing the interpretation for it, perhaps at that time it was written to protect the slaves and their children, right, that were born in the country, and that's not to create a second class or a different class of people in the country that were non-citizens. But again, if you apply it to today's context, that's also the case for the immigrants, right? They're here working, right? A lot of them are leading up to permanent status, but they're here. So if you start excluding their kids, then we're creating another class. But to say that there are many, many countries that do just that, and just as an example, the Middle East will have citizenship. You can stay there for all your life, like 40 years, 50 years. But even if you're born in any one of the Middle Eastern countries, you're not just going to be in their citizenship. So, but this is still, we have to still understand, if you're subject to the laws of the United States, then what this means is subject to the jurisdiction, meaning subject to the laws. And if you can get a speeding ticket here, you're subject to jurisdiction here. So therefore leading to the understanding that you are born here, right?
Yeah, is that Gorsuch was saying? His dissent raised that question about what they call domicile, where you live. So if an undocumented parent, they aren't domiciled here, then where are they domiciled? And is there a legal opening there for maybe a more narrow ruling in the future?
It could be. So he did raise the question of domicile, where the family truly makes its permanent home, and he did suggest that the answer may differ for parents who intend to live here permanently versus who are just passing through, right? And again, it could be an issue about loyalty, like if you're raising a U.S. citizen child who is raised in a different country, would they be opposed in their ideology? Say, for example, there were to be an issue, between those two countries, would that U.S. citizen be anti-U.S. or not? Right. So it's a concern in that sense. But you also have to understand we will have enough U.S. citizens within the country, right, that don't agree with the U.S. also. Correct? Isn't that the case? You may be. We've had, people. I mean, we had a horrible Oklahoma case, right, where people did not agree with the federal government. So there will be thoughts like that. But for right now, I think this matter for the 14th Amendment interpretation and the executive order trying to rewrite it has kind of concluded. I think we're waiting to see if there's anything else that comes out of it.
Okay.
But for now, it's settled.
What, practically speaking, what does this ruling change or not change for clients? So you're an immigration attorney, Pallavi Ahluwalia. I'm sure many of your clients are concerned about this issue, or maybe future clients would be for sure if they're planning on having children. But what is it? Does it change anything?
So we had lots of people that called us, and they said that, okay, I'm here legally. I've been here for so many years, I'm doing everything right. I'm about to have a baby. Will my baby be an American or not? So for the families who were scared that their newborns are going to be in legal limbo, that fear is now over. The baby is a citizen, and that's just full stop. It's a period at the end of that for right now. Right? The president did try to rewrite the 14th Amendment with his signature, and the court has said that that's not how the Constitution works.
No, that makes sense. So really not a lot changes, and I'm sure a breath of fresh air. But now Congress is going to start the hard work of trying to fight for a constitutional amendment, which in this political climate seems extremely difficult right now. And that's going to take some time. So for the time being, everything's fine.
Correct. 2/3 to get everyone on 2/3 to agree about something that is clearly ideological split is going to be very hard. It's going to be very hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the effort may be at who you're allowing entry into the country. If there is a little bit of, and again, I know I was just traveling recently and I was abroad and we're entering the country, and sometimes there are medical questions that are asked and they're very clearly asked. They're just not part of our portfolio of questions that are asked when we enter the U.S. back. And I mean, right now, obviously more because of Ebola, right? Those questions are being asked. But there could be other questions that are also asked, and they should be perfectly normal because you're entering the country and we want to make sure that you're not here for the reason that you're saying that you're here, that is to visit, shop, be a tourist, and you don't have any other purpose here. So maybe the stricter enforcement of who's coming in for what reason could be looked at. But yes, people, and I agree with people having discouragement that if you come here illegally but your children are legal, right, or they're citizens, that you get some help and then you start a whole process a different way. I do agree with that concern that people have. But at this time, that is still the law. If the kids are born here, then they are subject to the U.S.
And I'm sure there are many conservatives are lobbying for a constitutional amendment, but let's not forget, you need 2/3 of both chambers, so the House and the Senate. Then you have to have ratification by 3/4 of the United States, 3/4 of the states. So that's never going to happen. It's just simply not going to happen because Congress can't even pass far less divisive legislation, let alone this.
Correct. I agree.
Yeah, not going to happen at all. Let me pivot real quick from this decision yesterday, Pallavi, from the Supreme Court to another ruling that happened days ago that affects us deeply here in Ohio, particularly in the Dayton and Springfield area where we have a large Haitian population, and temporary protected status has now been lifted from these folks. The question now is, as people fear that businesses are going to close, as people flee that part of Ohio, and the ICE comes in and starts rounding people up for exportation or deportation, I guess I should say. The reality is that, do you think that actually happens? I mean, there's a chance where they just do nothing. Okay, we've eliminated temporary protected status, but does that necessarily mean that people get sent back to Haiti and other countries?
I mean, they will be sent back. It's the point of if they don't have any other status that they had filed for. So see, the thing about TPS was, and we're talking, we've moved on right now to Mullen versus Doe, correct?
Yes.
And that decision that came in on June 25th. So the court has held that the TPS statute generally bars federal courts from reviewing the Homeland Security's decision to terminate a designation. So it was appointed, it was given by the administration. And at this point, if they're taking it away, they also have to understand that it was given in a temporary manner. Now, when they remove the temporary status from anyone that has started to depend on it, it will cause upheaval because in their sense that they were working here, I would say legally. I would say the protection is now expected to wind down within about a month of this ruling. I would just say that they could have given it maybe 6 more months, right, for people to kind of leave properly or just be able to change to other statuses if they had other options available to them. And not I mean, if that's not the case, and they have not been able to file either asylum or family-based petitions, or had an employer sponsor them, or any other humanitarian or case-specific relief, such as, U visas or other protections that are obviously based on individual circumstances, then it will have a mass impact on a community that was here, right?
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, it just have a sense that, here in Ohio, it's going to absolutely wreak havoc for the Springfield community. And, there's always, you get a group of people, you're going to have a few people doing bad things, and we have laws for that. But eliminating now temporary protected status, and I get it, temporary protected status has been going on for 30 or 40 years. So, eventually temporary becomes permanent. But again, it's something that Congress can fix or look at anyway. And why we're doing this now is beyond me. I think most Americans certainly don't want people who are illegal and people who are especially criminals, gangbangers and like. We want them the hell out of here if you're dealing drugs. But if you're producing, you're hiring people, you're adding the economy, paying taxes, then there should be an exception, and we should be looking for you as a new citizen of the United States if we could put them on that path. But it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. Pallavi Ahluwalia, immigration attorney down in Texas. Always appreciate the time and the insight. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Scott. Glad to be here.
All the best.